Hi, my name is Amy Kramer, co-author with Lisa McComsey of the Vegan Cheat Sheet, and welcome to my kitchen. Today we are going to be making a delicious vegan, oil-free, that's right, oil-free, chocolate cake. So the first thing we do is sift together our ingredients. I don't have a sifter, and I think for this particular cake, because there are no oils, because I'm always cooking at altitude living here in Colorado, I'm going to make up my own sifter. So we're going to start with 3 cups of, I like to use whole wheat pastry flour when I'm cooking standard with gluten. However, this is very, very, very easy to substitute, making gluten-free. You can use your favorite gluten-free flour blend, or I like sometimes to make a combination of sorghum flour, brown rice flour, and tapioca flour. So just put it all into the sifter. Then we're going to add in 1½ cups of sugar. Now, for this recipe, you'll find it in my book, by the way, on page 172 and 173. You can see the recipe is halved in the book. That's for just making a small single layer cake, but because I want to do this in a double layer format, I am doubling the recipe. And you put in around ½ cup of cocoa. We're using unsweetened cocoa. It really doesn't specify in the book. If you end up only having sweetened cocoa, either cut back on the sugar or just have a little bit of a sweeter cake. I'm sure it'll all come out great. Then we're going to put in 2 teaspoons of baking soda. A funny note on this one. People always seem to confuse baking soda with baking powder. The major difference is, well, there's many major chemical differences, but the way to remember it is baking soda can only be used when you are baking something immediately after mixing it. If there's going to be a time lapse, then you really, really need to use baking powder. However, they're not a one-to-one comparison. Just take a peek online if you want to switch them out. They can be switched, but definitely look online before you do it. And the funny thing is, the funny part about using baking powder is how everyone always messes up what they're going to use. Well, in the initial shot of this video, as you can see, I had my baking powder out. And of course, I double-checked my recipe, and I needed baking soda. Lucky I didn't make that mistake. And now I'm just going to stir this all through until it just gets sifted right through my colander. As you can see, though, this method is quite a bit slower, but it'll work. It'll happen eventually. And this will ensure that it's a nice fluffy cake, even at these crazy high altitudes. Look at that. Look how nice and fluffy this looks. So now we mix in the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Oh, one thing I wanted to note when I put the sugar in there, I like to use a organic sugar. I like to use some things I always make sure are organic, but sugar is one of them. Maybe it's just me going totally crazy, but traditional sugar is most often processed through bone char, and that's controversial whether or not that's vegan, but because I find that kind of scary to me, I decided to switch to organic sugar. In general, organic sugars are not processed through bone char, so in my head, that sounds more vegan. Traditionally, when I'm cooking and I'm mixing in wet ingredients to dry ingredients, I always like to combine my wet and my dry separately, but this particular recipe just doesn't matter. So now I am going to throw in my water. Let's see, 2 cups of water. It says 1 cup of applesauce. So I'm going to make it simple. I'm going to grab my kids' snacks out of the pantry, which I did. Pop them open. Pop one of those in. And pop another one in. Or, of course, you could just measure it. This is close enough. 4 teaspoons of vanilla, or 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon vanilla, and the same amount of balsamic vinegar. I know that sometimes sounds weird in chocolate cake, but this will really bring out a delicious, rich chocolate flavor of this cake. Stir it nicely all together to get it well blended. Filling up the pan here. Pour it on in. Now, if you'd like to be more exact and get totally smooth edges around the outside of the cake, you can just trace the bottom of your cake pan onto a piece of wax paper, a piece of parchment paper, cut it out, and then you can just place it directly in the center. Great. Okay, so these have been in the oven around 30-ish minutes, and I'm going to take a peek and start pulling them out. Oh, magnificent. Here, let me show you one. Okay, we're going to set those on the countertop to cool now. Now we're going to take our cool cakes and turn them out onto a pretty cake plate. Now normally when I'm doing this with icing, I like to line the corners maybe with some wax paper or something so I can remove them and keep the plate clean. But in this particular case, we're only using powdered sugar and strawberries, so there's no need to do that. As you can see, I've sliced the strawberries, and I've also left some whole. I'm going to use these on the inside. I'll probably have some slivered ones on top, and I'm going to use these around the plate to decorate. Okay, so let's just take the cake, the first one, flip it over. You can just put it right onto your hands, your clean hands. And then we're simply just going to peel off the wax paper. Lay some sliced strawberries on top of the first cake, and then cover that with some powdered sugar. Take the other cake, lie it down, and then cover the top here. In this particular case, I'm going to be using some slivered strawberries, just to give it a different sort of look. Around the top. Okay, so now that we've taken the second cake, laid it on top of the first, there's strawberries and some powdered sugar in between. Now, laid some slivered strawberries on top. And I'm just going to sprinkle the top with some powdered sugar, just like that. And voila! Delicious vegan, oil-free, whole grain chocolate cake, perfect for a special dessert, a holiday treat, or any birthday. Would you like to join me for a slice? Yum. Ah, look at that. Doesn't that look delicious? For this recipe and more, you can grab a copy of our book, The Vegan Cheat Sheet. You can grab one at Amazon or go to your local bookstore. And also, for this recipe and more, check out our website, vegancheatsheet.com, and just go to the blog section to see many delicious vegan oil-free recipes.